Supreme Court case that could change religious freedom rights in America. Opening arguments started yesterday for the 2012 case of a Colorado baker. His name is Jack Phillips, who refused to make a cake for a same-sex couple due to his religious beliefs.
So will the court protect religious rights? Jack Phillips is the owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop, and Kristen Wagner, the attorney with Alliance Defending Freedom, and they both join us now. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Jack, I want to talk to you about the Supreme Court and your reaction to what happened yesterday.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing event, and now we just hope that the court looks at the case and rules that creative professionals are able to create according to their conscience.
Jack, I mean, to get more background on this, you own a cake shop. Is this an instance where you were going out of your way to find a same-sex couple to offend, or did a customer come in and you said, "Hey, it's just my belief system that I can't do that"?
Yeah, they just came in looking for a cake that I could not create. I do serve everybody who comes in my shop. So.
And Jack told them that he'd offer to sell them anything in the store, offer to make them other pre-made cakes. He just couldn't express that message in his cakes. And so it was simply the event and the message that they were asking for at that time.
Why couldn't you serve them? Why did you say, I'm not able to make you a cake?
Because they were asking me to create a cake that would celebrate a view of marriage that goes against the core values of my faith's view on marriage.
And Christian, critics will call your client's position intolerant. You say it's actually real tolerance is allowing someone to express their religious beliefs or their free speech perspective. Is that ultimately what this case is about?
It is, because the same law that applies to Jack and forces him to violate his conscience applies to an atheist singer who would have to perform in an Easter religious service, or a Catholic filmmaker that would have to promote the Church of Scientology, or an oil painter that would have to paint a portrait of Muhammad, violating their convictions. This is a much broader issue that expands to all creative artists, not just those who are sketching and sculpting and painting on a cake.
The Supreme Court justices, they heard those arguments yesterday, and the ruling is expected in June. What was your reaction, Kristen, when Justice Kennedy said tolerance is essential in a free society, but it is important for tolerance to work in both directions?
I was relieved, because to have a commissioner who's deciding Jack's fate, who took the work from him that he loves and deprived him of his business, essentially, 40%, that kind of bias put into action violates our Constitution, and so I'm glad that the court's concerned about it.
Jack, we're talking about this at the Supreme Court constitutional level because that's what it's come to. But what has happened to you and your business since this all started?
It's been very hard on us in our business. Like Kristen was saying, we've had to surrender our wedding cake business, which was 40% of our income. I've lost over half my employees, and we've faced death threats and harassment of all kinds. So now we just hope that the court will rule in favor of creative professionals so that I can go back to making the cakes that I can according to my conscience, and that nobody else will have to endure what we have for the last 5 years.
Kristen, we got your reaction from what Justice Kennedy said. This is what Justice Sotomayor, who is a liberal, as we know, that she's questioning your claims. She says there are sandwich artists, because he's claiming that he's a wedding cake artist. Now, there are people who create beauty in what they make, but we still don't call it expressive and entitled to First Amendment protection.
It's not just about beauty, it's about speech, and there's a lot of precedent that defines what speech is. When Jack has to write a Bible verse on a cake, when he writes words and symbols, and when he creates a cake that when you walk in the room, you know a wedding has occurred and that union is a marriage. That's expression, just as an abstract painting, just as a poem. Those things may not make any sense. Half the sculpture we see doesn't mean anything to those viewing it, but it's still art and it's still protected. So respectfully, Justice Sotomayor was wrong on that point.
Kristen, this is also obviously about the government, too. If they can tell a private business what you can or cannot do, that's the kind of government overreach a lot of people are worried about.
Oh, absolutely. And this idea that the government's recognized same-sex relationships, that now the other side can go to the next step and require people to affirm ideas and beliefs and express messages that violate their convictions. It's not constitutional, and it's not American, and it is extremely dangerous.
That's a great point. Tolerance is not necessarily affirmation. It is tolerating something you may disagree with. Jack Phillips, owner of Masterpiece Cake Shop, and Kristen Wagner, his attorney. Thank you very much.
Thank you.